Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I want to welcome you all to this podcast that we do every Wednesday at 8 a.m., or we release them every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Because Wednesday is a perfect day for you to listen to a little horror on your way to work or on your way to doing whatever you do in the mornings every Wednesday. Our show is designed to be a show in which me and a special guest come in and we kind of discuss the horror film of the day in as little or as much detail as we possibly can. Sometimes we give away some of the details about the film that is very important and could be what do you call it? Extreme plot points. We try not to, but we do sometimes, because some of the times we do films that you have to know some of the tricks for in order to enjoy them or not to enjoy them. So today we have a found footage film we're going to be discussing today. And with me as my special guest is Sarah Panazzo. We want to welcome Sarah Panazzo to the show. Thank you for joining.
Yeah.
And she has, willingly become my second spokesperson on a lot of these found footage movies that we started to do this year. And the one we're going to be talking about today is As Above, So Below. This is a favorite of mine, and I have no idea what she's going to say about this. But because the found footage genre kind of came and went so fast and is so diverse among horror fans, because there's more bad examples of this genre than there are good examples of this genre, it's always good to go back and kind of discuss some of the ones that may or may not have been forgotten and are good references for the subgenre itself, because I think that more people will appreciate this subgenre if they get an idea of the good ones that do it right. So that being said, Panazzo, what kind of was your first impression of this film when you saw it? Because I have to know.
So I remember seeing trailers for this and I was really excited, really wanted to see it. Don't think I ever made it to the theater to see it, but as soon as I could rent it or stream it, I remember renting it and I was in love immediately. I am a huge mythology nerd. And so the whole combination of Dante's Divine Comedy mixed with horror and the catacombs of France is fucking genius. And I absolutely love this movie. I can go back and rewatch it all the time, just because I love it. It's done so well.
It's very interesting that you bring that up, because I didn't pick up on a lot of that the first time I saw it, because I saw it at the theater the week it came out. The reason why I saw it was completely different, in that the directors for this film had done this infamous movie called The Poughkeepsie Tapes, which it did not get a release when it originally came out at film festivals. It was this talked about film that was you got to see this found footage movie, and it never got a wide release for a very long time. Yet these filmmakers, I can't remember the directors' names. Oh, I had it written down somewhere, but they did the movie Quarantine, another found footage film, and actually one of the better remakes of a found footage film. And then they did this one, and I'm a huge found footage fan.
Yeah, it is the Dowdle brothers.
Okay, yeah, they did Quarantine, among other films. They've done a lot of great movies. And I think all the movies that I've seen so far are absolutely, I think, really, really well done.
Yeah,
yeah.
Most of their stuff is semi found footage too, which makes it really, really good.
Mm-hmm. And this film came out, and I was like, "Ooh, this is kind." And I've always wanted. The catacombs in France are one of the places I want to see one day. So someone doing a film about them is always going to pique my interest. And I'm not as steeped in the mythology as you are. It was very interesting that you brought that up, because I saw some of this on a recent viewing of it that I didn't think about when I first saw it.
Yeah, going into it blind the first time, did not know anything about the whole Divine Comedy aspect, and I kind of pieced it together as they were talking about all of it. And then afterwards, seeing the internet lose their mind on the deep dive of when each circle of hell is just, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I did pick up on that. This most recent one, I was like, oh yeah, every time they descend into another circle of hell, yeah, I'm finally picking up on it. It's very extremely well done. But the thing about this film is, I like this one as a found footage film, because it seems like a natural fit. You have an
Yes.
archaeologist slash scientist who literally is documenting all of her work, and she's not someone who stays at a particular location. She goes from location to location. Like she goes to Iran, which is the opening, which is a really good opening actually.
Yeah.
So, or like they're about to destroy where the chamber is that she's trying to find the what is it called,
The
the
Rose
rose key.
Key.
The rose key, and no one knows it's there really, or they wouldn't be demolishing where it is. But she's found this rose key because it's supposed to lead her to finding the Philosopher's Stone, which, as everyone knows now, because it's been referenced to Harry Potter among every other thing out there. Uh, Sorry, guys, I was not a Harry Potter fan, so I didn't know shit about Philosopher's Stones or all that type stuff as much as some of the other people do. But that concept of starting off in Iran, of all places, and then it moving to France was really cool to me when I first saw it. And of course, you go in the catacombs, and then that's also a very interesting concept. Uh,
Yeah, I think the whole concept in general of like a female Indiana Jones, Nathan Drake type character works really well. And that's originally what they wanted, was like some kind of documentary Indiana Jones type thing. And then it evolved into horror, which I really love.
It does, because for the most part, you have this sense of thriller slash aspects, but it does feel like an Indiana Jones type of movie with the thriller aspects. It doesn't delve into horror until they start descending into each one of the little the rings of hell, I guess is what the best way.
Yeah, I mean, it starts off as like this brilliant documentary. There's a lot of this that is like very factually correct. The research done on this is phenomenal, just to the little bits in the catacombs of where they are in space and time and everything. There's so many references to the Divine Comedy, and it's just beautifully done.
Yeah, yeah. It also helps that the actors are really good in here.
Yes.
I think I hate to say this now that I've seen the movie, I think 4 or 5 times. I think it was Edwin Hodge as Benji is probably the one who's the weakest out of all those, because he's the only one they don't. He's like, he's scared to go in the catacombs at the beginning. He's scared to go into the bone passageway. He got it where he gets his panic attack, and then of course he gets scared again. So I was like, oh man.
Well, and so I think it works because there were stories about how they had one unnamed cast member who was claustrophobic. So they wrote that into his character in the movie. And so that kind of helps with those scenes where he is very apparently claustrophobic.
Yes, yes. I only really noticed it the second time watching it, or this recent time watching it. I was like, oh yeah, he's very much like that. But he, because of that, I will say he is a very different type of person behind the camera who is filming everything. So that kind of adds something to the film itself. Among the Papillons, two people that he brings, which are Susie and
Zed.
Susie
I also think it's really funny because, like, you go in knowing almost nothing about these characters. Like, you know a lot about Scarlet, obviously, but you learn more about these characters from single scenes than you do from the rest of the movie.
But as they delve deeper into the rings or the levels, you get to know them a lot more, especially George.
Yes.
I don't know if I saw all the reveals of his character until I rewatched it, because I can't remember. It's been a few years since I've seen this, but when it did come out, I saw it a lot because it was one of the better found footage films of that era. And then I kind of got away from found footage for a while.
Well, and like, I didn't piece together the first time I watched it. I thought all of the kids that flashed around in the beginning were his brother, and it turns out that it's like two of the guys, Zed and Benji, both had kids, and then George had his brother, so they were flashing between these three different children throughout the whole system instead of it being just one that I thought they were just like, oh, they're being haunted by George's brother.
Oh yeah, it's very interesting you said that.
Well, and then like I had to do a little research too because the ghost at the beginning who is like, yeah, go find Peon, is actually the same guy in the burning car.
Oh, you know what? I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah, I had to see two pictures side by side. There's a picture of him where his hair looks really dark and black, which is from the beginning, and then when he's in the car, he looks like he has red hair. And so I saw the actor with both kinds of hair, and I was like, okay, that is him twice. So they are literally
Oh.
being followed by these ghosts or demons throughout the entire movie before they even get there.
Interesting. It's kind of like the woman that Benji sees in the nightclub when they're going to go
Yes.
see Papillon, and then of course, with the first time they get into the catacombs with Papillon, they see the I don't even know what to call those worshippers.
I just call them a chorus or a choir. And actually some fun stuff about that. The brothers actually did a lot of research with people who do go like I forgot what they call them. Uh Cataphiles is what the group call themselves. And they asked about strange encounters that they would discover down in the catacombs. And a lot of them say that you'll come upon random choirs and musicians practicing because the acoustics are so good. So, like, the actors in that scene, they set it up so that the actors had not seen anything about that setup and knew there was going to be like a chorus of some sort, but they were not expecting that. And so that was them like actually seeing the choir for the first time.
Oh wow, interesting. Yeah, I always I was thinking that I was trying to figure out when I was rewatching it how significant it was that Benji picks up on that twice. But then I also wanted to know if that was the same woman who ends up scaring Benji and him falling through the hole in the ground and dying.
Yeah, I think it's similar and different because she does pass behind him right before that scene, but then I believe it's an older woman that's a
Okay.
little more crone-like who actually like scares him down the hole.
Okay, because it would make sense if it was her, but I wasn't really sure. I should have gone back and like rewind it a little bit and replayed it back and paused it. But I didn't think about doing that, so I want to because it would make much more sense if it was her. And but I'm trying. That was one aspect of the film I'm still trying to see, and I'll probably figure this out on the next rewatch exactly why he sees her and why she's significant to him because the thing is, this film leaves you with a lot of questions as you're watching it.
Yes.
And then, of course, when you rewatch it, you pick up on other things. Like I didn't pick up on a lot of things until I rewatched it for this version of the podcast. So,
Yeah, and then just looking at how other people talk about it, putting some other things together, like I didn't realize that Benji technically fell twice because first time he falls on George in one of the first tunnels, and then he has the other fall.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about the first one as like a precursor, but going with all six of the people who go down there, they kind of match up. So Scarlett had her dad where she didn't answer the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So she feels the guilt of that. George had his younger brother who he left to go find help. Benji, we find out, well, don't even really find out, but Benji, we find out, has like, he may or may not have abandoned a wife and child that he didn't know about or did know about and chose to ignore. Zed had the same thing. He had a child that he abandoned with the mother. Susie, we don't know anything about. And then Papillon has the whole car scene where he left somebody to die and went to go get help, maybe. So all of them kind of have mirroring things where George and Papillon have their thing, Benji and Zed, and so Scarlett and Susie might have the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think hers was more with what's his name? The mole, where they obviously had a very close relationship. So she knew he needed help. Yeah, the guy who ends up down there, Leto.
Oh, Latope.
Yeah.
Who killed him?
Yeah, so like Latope, she obviously had a close relationship with him and knew maybe he wasn't in the best shape and went down there by himself and didn't check up on him. So all six of them have mirror images and each one of them only has one of that group that survive. So I thought it was really interesting because as above, so below, it's even too, where it's 3 and 3 with the matching histories. So there's a whole bunch of it that goes super deep. And I honestly could talk about this movie all day. Like, I do, if you like this movie, read The Divine Comedy because there's so much of that put into this. It is unbelievable.
Interesting. I will have to. I have not picked up that since I was in high school. I do not remember anything. High school was a long time ago for me.
But yeah, I mean, like, this is also, I don't know if you knew, this is the first film to legitimately film inside the catacombs too. The French government did give them a full pass to film down there.
Oh, nice. I did not know that.
So it is the legitimate catacombs, the entire movie. One of their favorite things that they did, they said one of the MVP of their entire crew was the piano guy, because he literally took a real piano, dismantled it, moved it down 6 stories, only accessible by a manhole cover with a chimney under it and a really long staircase. And then he had to bring it back out because they couldn't leave it in the catacombs.
Oh,
So yeah, that was their MVP of the movie. And actually, the brothers grew up having that kind of piano. So you see the George character is literally the director.
Well, thankfully he didn't leave his brother to drown now.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, this whole movie, it's dark, it's creepy, it's only lit by their headlamps, which make it even better, so you're very limited in what you're seeing. It's claustrophobic, which makes it really uncomfortable.
Yes.
And then you've got like the water scenes and the flashes of this, flashes of that. And it's so creepy.
It is, but it gets a little. As they descend, it gets creepier and creepier, and they lose a lot less. They lose a lot more light as they descend. So by the time they're at the very bottom, and it's towards the end of the movie, with those scenes where we're seeing Scarlet running through, and you see all the people that she passes by, the people in cloaks and all that, are more in shadow than they were earlier in the film.
Yeah, I love the whole thing where she's just like running and she'll run into somebody and just like shove them out of the way. And I'm like, that's brilliant because you literally are in the dark. You don't know what else is going on in there. And there's just, like you said, there's so many creepy things. Like there's the Blood River and everything else where if you are not watching correctly, or even if they are not watching particularly, there is danger around every corner because they don't know what's going on. They hide up against a wall and some guys just like charge out of it because you aren't safe anywhere.
Yeah, well, that's one of the aspects that I think works for this film, but it was kind of set up in the very beginning of the film where she's in the caverns to find the rose key. It's very dark until she sees, is it a bull?
Yeah, it's almost like a minotaur. I can't tell if it's a full bull or if it's a minotaur.
Yeah. So that's what she comes across that, and what's really cool is she's being really she's trying to get the hieroglyphs as fast as she can with the camera, which is one of the rare things in the film where the actual camera has an actual function.
Yes.
Other than just recording, documenting. She's actually using that. And of course, you see that footage later on when she's showing it to George to translate. And then, of course, that ends up getting them into the museum, which is one of the most fun sequences.
Yes.
When they go in the museum and they have to use the, what was it? The Frau Nicholas tablet. That's only you can call it. And it's really cool because of the fact that this is where you get into the Indiana Jones stuff where you have to flip it up on the other side,
upside down, and reveal the puzzle and all that fun stuff.
That's the stuff that makes it feel like an Indiana Jones or a Da Vinci Code type of movie. And you're like, oh, this is really fucking cool. And it's also done as a found footage film. And even as the film goes on, once they get trapped in the first cab, before they actually get into the chamber with the body, that when they get trapped and they kind of have to figure out how to get out. And
there's like the whole like vulture puzzle, and then like even in the treasure room where they find the stone, there's a puzzle to find the stone, and then the trap of the treasure, and then just the puzzle that goes on throughout where she's like, the stone isn't working.
I think though that's what makes it more interesting to me as a film overall, and for a rewatch, is because you see these type of things. One of my favorite things about the Indiana Jones movies and the Da Vinci Code movies is the puzzle aspects of it. It makes so this is what sets this one apart from a lot of other found footage films, in my opinion. A lot of them tend to want to be a horror film, and it kind of feel like a horror film the entire way through. Whereas this one is really kind of an adventure film that just happens to have horror elements in it.
Yes, 100%. Because I mean, like, even Indiana Jones, you get to the ending, and that's kind of horrific in the first one. I mean, all of them have bits of horror in them. They're more family friendly horror, whereas this is like, nope, no regrets, going full horror. Let's do it.
Are you sure, faces melting off at the very end of Raiders, or someone ripping someone's heart out of
Heart
their
out?
head?
I mean, it's the stuff you remember as a kid. I mean, even the whole like putting the hand in the cavern to grab the lever full of like centipedes and millipedes, that's what was horrific to me as a child. That's the part that I remember being terrified of. Everything else was like, oh no, this is fine. People's faces melting. It's great. Just don't look. You just got to close your eyes. It's fine.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring up another found footage film that tries to be this as well, but it fails miserably, in my opinion, which is The Pyramid, which is designed to be an archaeology type film, but kind of falls into this trap and just end up being a very bad CGI horror film with a monster. Whereas this one kind of keeps that tone of being an adventure film the entire way in. Because even in the last act, when Scarlett realizes that the stone doesn't work, that she's got the wrong stone, and she has to go all the way back, and still elements of being the adventure archaeologist thing, because she has to figure this stuff out. She has to, along the way, she has to figure out that she atones for what she did, and all that type. Those are things she has to figure out. These are little puzzles that she has to figure out, which makes it much more interesting of a story as it's going through, and it doesn't have one of those the thing that marks a bad found footage film, which is these endings that just kind of just end.
Yeah, and I mean it's weird because they came out almost around the exact same time too. So it's like obviously you've got two very similar movies, and one is going to be much, much better than the other.
Well, you would think that the guy who produced and directed High Tension and Maniac and among other things would be able to pull off a good found footage film and produce a good film. No, they can't. It gets bad because of the CGI. And found footage films can't really have bad CGI because then that ruins the effect.
Yeah, because like with this, if there was any CGI, you can barely tell. Mm-hmm. The special effects with the makeup is really well done. Everything is really creepy when it comes to like Satan and his mask and everything, and then like the people coming out of the walls, and then just like all of the stuff that happens with people's bodies in this movie, where like people are lit on fire and everything else. It can be pretty gruesome. Not like the worst I've ever seen, but like having your face smashed in is, yeah.
Yeah, but you bring up one of the really cool deaths, which is Papillon's, who, we're seeing this body in a car that's burning up, and Papillon feels guilty, and all of a sudden he's getting sucked into the car, and all of a sudden the car disappears, but his feet are still sticking out of the freaking ground.
And that's literally a bit that is from Divine Comedy.
Oh, is it?
Yes. That's how brilliant this movie is. Yeah, because their legs, like that amount of his legs that stick out, literally stick out of the mouths, I believe, of the people who died. Because of somebody else's injuries.
Mm.
So it's really interesting how it all ties in together. At some point I thought I remembered hearing that they had like slight numbers in the background so you could tell when you were entering another area. I only saw one number this time, so I think that might have just been like an internet rumor across time. But no, I mean like all of the stuff in the background, you've got the bricks that have numbers on it, and at some point they've got like a bit of Corinthians on one of the walls. You've got the whole entrance to the gates of hell bit that's on the walls. I mean, I know they're literally using the catacombs, and you can see the graffiti that they made for the movie still in the catacombs to this day. But just the way that they were able to decorate it so that it fit in with it. Like you couldn't really tell it was anything but catacombs.
Hmm. Well, this film has a better version of the catacombs than the movie Catacombs. I wish I what year that was released in. But that I think that's set on the shelf for a few years after it was complete anyways. But getting into, I'm trying to think of any of the alchemy stuff in this film, any of the science based stuff in this film. I don't know how much of it we've already discussed.
Yeah, I mean, mostly it's for alchemy, it's just the whole process of as above, so below, and you've got the whole Nicholas Flamel aspect, which all does play off of the same thing. It's like the Emerald Tablet. It's like the second section is the whole as above, so below thing. And that's just the shortened version. And then you get into vitriol, which they use to get through the rest of it. So it's basically like the key to unlock the rest of the path, which is really interesting because it is that part of Indiana Jones that we don't really see. Is that's more like religion, some slight mythology, but it's mostly religion. And this is now like alchemy, and you've got extended religion, and it's fascinating how it all ties together because that's how it is in the real world, is all of these religions and alchemy all tie together at some point. So it's fascinating. I love it.
So this is another aspect of this film that's different from a lot of found footage films, which, because you've mentioned the parallels between all six of the characters and how their fate is intertwined, this may explain it more for me now, because at the very end of the film, when they're getting out of the manhole cover, and the manhole cover doesn't push, in their opinions, doesn't push down because they're flipped in reality.
Yes.
I thought it was really brilliant, but in most found footage films, there might be one survivor.
Yes.
In this one, there was three, and Zed is not really characterized as one of the main characters.
Yeah, not at all. And then it leaves you to question, okay, so what is Scarlet going to do with her new powers, I guess? And how extreme do you get? Because yeah, that whole bit is the final area of hell traversed within the ninth circle is the bottomless pit of penitence and the reverse leap of faith, which they all come to like apologize and regret their sins, which is the reason why they survive. Is they're like, yeah, I did do that, and they start like paying their penitence for it, whereas the other ones are like, nope, I didn't do anything wrong. So it's really interesting, and I love watching that every single time of like they can't open the manhole cover and you're sitting there like, oh my god, they're upside down. And it's just the way that they shoot them coming out too is just genius. I freaking love it.
Yes, that's what I was trying to get at, is the way that it's shot with the camera, because they put the camera out first and you're upside down and you're seeing it in reverse. It was brilliant cinematography for that. I think when I very first saw that, I was like, what the hell? I was like, oh, you have that oh moment. And this film, that's the end of the movie, because you're still getting that. You get those like those story shocks and those little shocking moments that are actually really really good for the ending of the movie, instead of the movie just cutting straight off to black because someone dropped the freaking camera or someone died or anything like that. This movie doesn't go into those typical type of found footage.
Yes. And it plays into what you were saying earlier with the camera being like an actual prop. Like at one point it's literally just used as a light source, but that's also when they put it outside and show us like this is the real world. This is the right way up. It's so well done.
and that's what shocks me, that this film isn't talked about more. And I think it's just because of the whole found footage subgenre.
Yeah, I don't know if it came out at like a really bad time or what. I know it did diners, but yeah, it got kind of mixed reviews. Everyone was like, okay, well, it falls into the whole horror trap. Everyone was really into the whole like Indiana Jones adventure beginning, and then they're like, oh, it's just another horror found footage movie with scares and blah, 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 blah. And then I think they said once it hit streaming on Netflix is where it really found its audience, and people started losing their minds about this movie. Because every YouTuber has done something now with this and the Divine Comedy. There are so many different videos and articles. I'm surprised I haven't seen like a full breakdown from like a scholarly review of how this actually ties in, because it is talked about so much in the horror community, especially as a found footage film, because there isn't anything that's really like this. Like, I know we've talked about found footage in the past, and it makes me think of The Bay, because you've clearly got two different sets of directors who really did their research on a subject and poured it into this found footage movie, and it makes it phenomenal. I mean, like, The Bay is literally real research done on whatever bay that was.
Yep.
That was then a little bit like overdone to prove a point, but it's
Yeah.
still based on like actual documentary work. And this is done on like actual historical documentary work. Like, how many times have people tried to go find the Philosopher's Stone? It's been part of history for a long time, almost as much as like the Ark of the Covenant Holy Grail type deal. It's still a part of history that people go back to so many times, and the effort put into this to show how much historical and scientific research was done is just mind blowing.
Yeah. No. That's essentially what I wanted to get at, because the I think that this subgenre doesn't get enough credit when a person actually does it really well. And when I eventually did see the filmmakers, the Poughkeepsie tapes, I was like, wow, that's a really extremely well done first freaking film right there.
Yeah.
It was sad that it sat on the shelf for so freaking long before I saw it, because I saw that way after I'd seen this movie. I think I saw a bootleg of the Poughkeepsie tapes actually before they gave it a real release.
Yeah.
I was like looking everywhere for this damn movie because I had heard so much about it but couldn't see it. And I think it was a bootleg I eventually saw before it actually got its real release. I need to rewatch it now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it looks really freaking great when it's not a bootleg.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, with as little as they had with this, I mean, they had like no lighting gear. It's literally just their overhead lights. So it looks like a real found footage movie. There's nothing severely overdone. And so it's believable as a found footage. It looks like somebody doing a documentary on somebody, and it's just phenomenal quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also want to make mention of the interview sequences that Benji does with
Yes.
Scarlett that kind of open the section after Iran, and then of course we come back to that at the very beginning because that's something that you don't really get to see a lot of in these type of found footage films either. You usually get what they did in Blair Witch Project, which is at the end of the movie when the characters is revealing, "I did something bad," and blah blah blah, and they're crying, and you see that a lot. But you don't see the fact that this is an interview that she's doing for future people to watch, to kind of show exactly why she did what she did, or why she's doing what she's doing, as a testament to the future, and hopefully understanding why she's doing all of this. And
yeah, because it's also interesting how it bookends, because you can't tell when she actually did that interview, if it was at the beginning or at the end, because the way she talks about it is exactly the same. She herself does not change throughout the entire thing, where she's like, oh, I'm going to take the treasure now because I'm changing my goal. It's always about finding the stone and just knowing what was going on.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry, you're gonna have to make a note of that, guy. I had nothing else to say at that point.
Well, that brings us to a good point, because for this film we've talked a lot about it, and I'm not. We've actually talked a lot about actually everything that goes on within the film, because we've talked about exactly the motivations for the characters. So someone who's listening to this and who has seen the film will get a lot more out of what we're talking about than someone who hasn't seen the film. And I don't believe that this is one of those films where we need to go through the entire plot word, because the experience of watching a found footage film is to actually go along with the people in the found footage, the characters in the found footage film, because they're documenting it as if it's real and it's there and it's in the present, and you as an audience member are experiencing it there with them as well.
And it's just fun to watch in general, whether you know about the extensive alchemical, historical, Divine Comedy-esque stuff. It's a fun movie even without it, because you're wondering what the fuck is going on. I mean, I think the first time I watched it, I was expecting a Minotaur to appear at some point, because I was like, well, clearly they're in a labyrinth. So I kept thinking eventually it would be that. And I was like, oh no, other kind of mythology. But yeah, it's fun for those who know and fun for those who don't. It's a good movie. It's entertaining, and it can be quite dark and gruesome, literally.
I probably would have thought something similar myself, having watched a lot of found footage films, because unfortunately, a lot of the bad ones rely on ghost stories. Unfortunately, there are some zombie ones, but a lot of the really bad ones have to deal with ghost stories, haunted places.
Mm-hmm.
And this one kind of levels the field with having a multitude of different aspects to it, which makes it more interesting. It's not really a ghost story as it is people who have, I don't know the best word to describe it.
Yeah, it really is like straight up a fake documentary, because everybody else is like trying to prove something, ghosts exist, whatever. And she's literally just doing like a video diary of research for the History Channel.
There you go. So for everyone out there listening, I hope that this has allowed you to have a greater appreciation of found footage films. Panazzo, is there any final words that you'd like to say about As Above, So Below?
Just give it a chance. Watch it. If you haven't seen it already, it's a great found footage movie. It's great if you're a historical nerd like I am, which we don't get a whole lot of. But yeah, it's a fun movie.
Okay. For everyone listening out there, one of the things that we're doing with this show is we're trying to highlight some of the subgenres out there that are either not well known or ones that are not exactly appreciated as much as we would like them to be. Found footage is one of those genres that I'm a huge fan of, but it's also one that is very diverse for a lot of people out there, because either you love them or you hate them, or you get motion sickness by watching something like Cloverfield.
Yes.
There seems to be a lot of different reactions to the found footage genre. And whether or not you are a fan of the found footage subgenre or not, this is one of the films that I believe is one of the best examples of it being done well. Not only as an adventure / archaeological film / divine comedy, but also one that has those horror aspects, because the characters do slowly descend into hell. There's a lot to be pulled out of this film, especially if you're watching it multiple times. So if you've only seen it one time, you should actually take another chance and watch it again, because you'll pick up on stuff that you didn't pick up on the very first time. So with that, what we like to do in our show is we like to grade the films from 1 to 5 stars, depending on 1 being very bad or 5 being an excellent film. And Panazzo, where on the spectrum does As Above, So Below fall for you?
I would say a 4. I definitely have other horror movies that I love much more than this, but this is definitely one of my go-tos. It is a great movie. Like I said, I'm a huge nerd when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I love this found footage. It is really well done compared to some of the older ones, and it's just a fun time.
I'm going to actually agree with you on this one. I believe I'd give it 4 stars as well. It's very similar to what I would have given The Bay. We actually have talked about 2 of the better found footage films.
Well, and I just saw the same year The Taking of Deborah Logan came out too. So that's 2 really good found footage movies in one year, which is unheard of.
Yes, that's another one that's on our list. So if you're a found footage fan, we will eventually get around to that one. So what you need to do is like, subscribe, do that thing you do with your favorite podcasts, because we are on Spotify and YouTube, and we also have direct links to it on our Lisbon site. But with that, I would like to thank you for joining us this week for Conversations in Horror. Make sure to check out some of our previous episodes because we've touched upon a lot of great movies already, and we're doing a lot more for the sub-genre that is found footage. With that, everyone out there, have a pleasant day, and thank you from everyone here at Something Wicked Entertainment. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.